Autumn, what a great opportunity to hang out with you. I'm in your house. I can't believe it.
It's wild after knowing you for years. I mean,
I
how many
know.
years?
I don't know how many years, several years ago.
Oh, I remember the day exactly
Do you?
because your work was so impactful for me as a child. So I remember it was during the pandemic and
Yeah,
we were in our other house
right.
and we were just getting on for an informal call and it became like this 2-hour chat.
It's strange. Like we were saying, like I got to hug you for the first time. And it's weird. It's kind of like I feel like I've known you for a long time.
I know. Me
And I
too.
had the same feeling with Ibrahim Kareem, because um, I've had a lot of really deep and profound conversations on my podcast with him. And we have such harmony like you and I do because our values are so aligned and we see the world in very similar ways, but we're different enough to really gain a lot from each other.
Mhm.
So I was, as we were driving up, I said to Angie and Penny, I said, it's the strangest thing to go meet Autumn because I feel like I've known her forever. And they said, yeah, we know that what you mean. But it's also lovely just to be here and meet your husband and your son and like your beautiful home and your yard and all you live just like I like to live.
Yeah.
It's like
Backed up to a farm.
do it well.
Yeah.
If you're gonna live, ladies and gentlemen, do it right.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we can't wait to get out to your house. We've heard the
Yes.
most wonderful things. We've
Yeah.
seen the baby goats and
Yeah, it's a special experience. We'll be waiting for you.
mhm.
It's great to be able to talk to you. And the thing I love most is that your interests are important interests. Like there's a lot of stuff you can study in nutrition, for God's sakes. I mean, go to a library and like a university library, you'd never even come close to read. You could read on any one nutrient. You could read vitamin C research for 5 years. You could,
Yeah.
it's very, very deep. Unfortunately, it's not all good research, as you know, but there's so much to talk about within the field of nutrition. And it's so important today. I sort of wanted to start off with some basics. How far from reality are people's understanding of food in general? The average person out there, the average mom, the average football player, college student, high school student, people reading magazines.
67% of our child's calories come from ultra processed food, about 60% of ours, food that doesn't even have life,
Yeah.
food that hijacks your blood sugar. People just don't understand that you're literally building your cells, your brain, your body,
Yes.
and the signals. And yeah, I think the disconnection from the way food impacts us is one of the main reasons we have such high medical bills. And we're suffering, literally suffering for the last 16 years of our life. And I think so much of that could be remedied if we'd come back to that, just the wisdom of how important a high quality whole food diet is
Yes.
and how pivotal and foundational it is to a quality of life that we all deserve that so few of us know.
Yeah, it's a key concept it's very simple. If you don't bring more energy and nutrition in
Mm.
than it costs to run a food from mouth to anus, you're actually depleting your own body's resources to run the equipment of digestion and metabolism, assimilation, elimination to keep the system. I tell my students, think of your body in an analogy as a factory. It's got equipment in it. There's people in it. There's
Yeah.
things that wear out.
Mhm.
You need power. You have to have a cooling system. You have to regulate the temperature. So when you look at the body that way and you ask yourself, what happens if you don't bring in essential vitamins and minerals and trace minerals, which are like electricity, water, plumbing in a factory, the core things you got to have to run the factory, you get to like a problem. And it shows up in a lot of ways that the medical system treats as though it's the entity in and of itself. In other words, the symptom. My skin problem, I'm gaining weight, my
No
energy's
energy.
crashing, I can't think straight, I can't poop, I'm pooping too much. Everybody's genetics are different. So you put 20 people on the same diet, like when I was in the military, we were all eating exactly the same foods, pretty much. It was military kitchen, doing the same exercise, same routine. I mean, it was like a research project because you got like 50 guys in a platoon doing pretty much exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Yet you would see completely different reactions. My point is that the medical drug companies and the medical system, they're strictly treating the symptoms, but they're not saying, you need to eat real food.
Yeah. Isn't that sad? Because 90% of us are nutrient deficient. Our food is at the lowest level of nutrient value in
it's
history.
Ever been. Soil's the worst it's ever been.
Ever been. They say you need 2 times as much meat, 3 times the amount of fruit, and 4 times the amount of fruits or vegetables as you did in 1940 to get the same level. And like you said, all those symptoms, dull skin, fatigue, brain fog, those are downstream of the nutrient deficiency that we are suffering from at a massive scale. And I hope one day, this is my dream, that we'll look to food before pharma. I think, right? There might be a place for pharmaceuticals sometimes, but I want everybody to understand that's my main goal in life is like the power of food. We have to cover those nutrient bases.
We have to be very conscious to be aware of, is what we believe actually giving us more health, more vitality, more freedom, and a greater ability to accept, understand, adapt to, and participate in the world in meaningful ways that help bring us into higher states of consciousness. But my point is like when you look at everything that we have talked about in all of our previous podcasts, everything you talk about in your documentary, just tell everybody where to find your documentary. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube on Wild Pastures official YouTube page. And it's just right there for you. There's 8 episodes.
So really just to wrap up what I'm saying so that I don't kind of take us all over the place and the listeners get lost, although every bit of it's good. But it's just all I'm really trying to say. And that my point I was making is it's a very complex world we're in. And when you're tired, you're malnourished, and you're not able to hold the most important things together, like the key values that make for a sense of inner integrity, you're highly susceptible to the medical system, to the political system, to the globalists. And they have no interest in teaching you how to be healthy. They don't have any interest in teaching you to think for yourself.
No, I think psychology has a very important place. And I also think I came into it from psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, I didn't have that biological kind of stability that I needed to find. I had that psychology piece because I was in therapy since I was a very young girl, but I needed to find, I needed to not be on a blood sugar roller coaster. I needed the B vitamins and the omega-3 fatty acids that build my brain and make it function optimally. So yeah, I think you can come at things from both angles, but both are really important when it comes to how we're thinking and why we're doing things.
The Maha movement is on. I've been following the commentary on that. There's kind of like a real tug of war going on. The government does not have a good track record when it comes to nutrition, anything. Because it's all bought and paid for by processed food manufacturers, as you know. So there really is no, the government. I mean, I remember Donald Trump being all over the television because he was taking one of the top football teams to McDonald's for dinner and thought that was just fantastic. I'm like, okay, that's not a good sign.
Right. And 95% of, I think it was the Dietary Committee in 2020 had a tie to food or pharma. The people on the board creating our dietary recommendations have conflicts of interests, obviously.
So, yeah, that's a big issue. And my question for you was really, where do you see things going? Have you followed at all what's coming down with Maha and government changes in meal plans or any of the kind of government stuff? And what's your assessment of it?
Yeah, I've been paying attention, right? And there's a lot that I like about what Maha is trying to do and, dying food or banning food dyes and all of that. And just opening up the cultural conversation, right? People are paying attention in a way they haven't before.
Mm-hmm, good.
I can value that. What I think is missing is, and I think that they'll get there. Like I know Nina Teicholz and people are working on dietary recommendations that might shift the way things have been done historically. I'm all for that. But what I'd really like to see is kind of a larger conversation around the food system as a whole. Like how are we doing agriculture?
Yes.
Are we growing things sustainably? Are they organic? I know we're going after glyphosate. Again, great idea. Yeah. Glyphosate, pesticides, herbicides, they're a problem. But I want these bigger conversations. How do we get farm to table into schools?
Yes.
How do we ensure that every community is getting food from their bioregion that's fresh,
Yes.
that's whole food, that we're not having fast food restaurants in our schools anymore?
God, it's not even fast food they're eating. Yeah. It's microwaved shit that comes out of a bomb shelter.
Yeah. And what did I hear the other day that was so fascinating is I think that the breakfasts being served in a lot of schools met the sugar recommendation for the day.
Oh my God.
I know. A lot of them were up at that limit. And Nina Teichels were working on, hey, can we get breakfasts that are just lower in refined sugar? And so there's just a lot of work to do. But I do hope that it pivots and we start taking a bigger, broader perspective. And that's what we're kind of trying to do with the companies, right? We're not necessarily waiting for the government to do.
I'm glad,
Yeah.
I because I'm aware of all these issues, everything we're talking about is what we both do. And I've been doing it a long time. And I also come from a farm. I was raised on a farm, a functional farm, a big one. But I don't think there's, I don't know what the percentage of the food, I know 94 to 96% of all the food eaten in the world and grown in the world is commercial. Only 4 to 6% of the entire world's food production is organic.
Crazy.
Which means you can't be eating more organic food than is grown.
Right.
So it means 94 to 96%, it's 4 to 6% of the food is organic. So the rest of it's not organic, which is one of my big complaints with the whole vegan movement. It's like, I've rehabbed a lot of vegans in my career, and I've not met a single one that was eating an all-organic diet. They're all doing it on commercial garbage, which is a double insult to the system. And, here you are claiming to protect the animals and the environment, but they're being poisoned to death by the very system that you're putting money into. But what I'm really trying to say is that coming from the background that I do, I don't think we can really get that farm to table concept on big scale. I think it has to be locally done.
Yeah.
If you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you've probably heard Paul raving about one of his absolute go-to supplements, P3OM from Bioptimizers. Well, they've given it a new name, Probiotic Breakthrough. It's the same amazing formulation, just with a new name. Here's a chat that Paul and Wayne had about Probiotic Breakthrough before it changed its name.
Bioptimizers makes an amazing product called P3OM, which is a prebiotic product. And it's amazing for not only helping repopulate the gut with friendly bacteria, but as Wade will tell you, it's really, really an amazing product in case you ever feel like you're getting any kind of food poisoning or illness coming on. And Wade's right here with me, and he's the co-founder of Bioptimizers, and he knows more about P3OM than anybody. But I can tell you this, I've had nothing but excellent results and nothing but positive feedback from all my clients and friends that I've turned on to P3OM. So Wade, tell us a little bit about P3OM and why it works so well.
Well, P3M we call it the Navy SEAL of probiotics.
Amen.
Basically, its job is to kick out the bad guys in your body. Food poisoning is one of those things from bad bacteria. What we've done is we've taken an aggressive strain of L. plantarum. We put it into toxic soup, ran a sine wave to keep a few of them alive. And the few survivors we grow in very specialized medium to make a cultured, patented enzyme that has extraordinary powers. Number one, it survives the intestinal tract.
Yes.
And number two, it absolutely hunts down pathogens in the body, bacteria, viruses, these type of things. And this is really where the future of probiotics is. It is about developing and culturing and creating super strains of probiotic, very much like the Navy SEALs go through a training, and these individuals have extraordinary powers to deal with chaos. And in today's world where we want to improve our immunity and our function and our gut health, P3OM is head and shoulders above any probiotic out there.
So my understanding is it can be used daily as a supplement, but it can also be used in larger quantities as a defense measure.
We've tested this literally with over 100 of our friends who have been suffering from various times of food poisoning. And a handful of those guys when you're in food poisoning, and within 20 to 30 minutes, you complete recovery.
That's awesome. And I've seen it happen myself. Angie has felt bad a number of times, and several of people in the house or family have. And I say, take 10. If that doesn't feel good in an hour, take 20. And you've told me you can't overdose on them, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's the beauty of P3M. You can't take too much. They'll fight off the bad guys, and they'll get your digestion rocking and rolling the way it should.
So if you want to have a healthy gut and you want some defense, carry P3OM with you wherever you go, airplanes, cars, business meetings, hotels, conferences, and you've got your Navy SEALs in the bottle, and they're ready for you anytime.
Spirit Gym with Paul Chek listeners can get 10% off their purchase of Probiotic Breakthrough by Bioptimizers by going to bioptimizers.com/Spirit Gym and using the code PAUL10 at checkout. You can choose from 3 different sizes, and in addition, Bioptimizers always have special bonus gifts and additional savings when you get multiple bottles. So head over to bioptimizers.com/Spirit Gym and check out Probiotic Breakthrough with your PAUL10 promo code.
That's what I'm saying with our company. That's what we realize. Like, we
Yeah.
can't really wait around. We have the farm bill, makes it hard for farmers to,
Yes.
I think like 5% goes to fruits and vegetables. I mean, we're growing so much more, and they have so many more safety nets for these commodity crops.
Right.
GMO corn and wheat and soy and rice and all of these things. And then very small amounts. But yeah, like you said, we have to just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And prioritize that as consumers and know that we are the driving force behind the system to some extent. But we just have to make the right choices and help our farmers.
If we want to get healthy again and protect the planet, we've got to support what I would call small farmers, which would be, a small farm could be a couple of 100 acres, because compared to a corporate operation, that's not that much. But you can actually farm a couple of 100 acres and keep it real high quality, and you can keep the soil well done. I mean, that's doable.
Yeah.
You can have a couple 100 people that you're delivering food to.
Yeah.
And so if we can actually, which is another point, we have to change our orientation around value. People are so used to going to supermarkets and price shopping.
Yep.
And think, oh, look, this apple's 10 cents cheaper a pound. But they don't realize it's garbage. Oh, these organic stuff's so expensive. And then there's the side fact that we don't know what organic is anymore because they hijacked the market. But if we go to the farmer and we realize like this is like sacred, we're paying for something that our lives, our bodies are built out of this, our psychology is tied to this, our values, and knowing that you're putting money in the hands of people that are actually taking care of the planet.
In your area.
In your
right?
area.
Making decisions that affect your home.
Yes.
That's what I think is so important.
Yeah.
And when it's flying 1,000 miles and sprayed with pesticides, it's dead food anyway.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we can, and like food sovereignty, we saw in COVID how dangerous it is when food supplies get shut down.
And strangely enough, 120 food factories mysteriously caught on fire.
Yeah.
We could go crazy on all that. I don't want, that we've beaten that horse to death. Everybody, I think if you're not aware of what was really going on in the world right now, then you need a vitamin enema.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time, but I think also a time where a lot of people have woken up.
Absolutely.
So
that's the other side
gift.
of it, right?
Yeah, the gift.
I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
I had some of the best years of my life during COVID.
Yeah, I did too. It helped me really find people who aligned with my values and just kind of remain skeptical. Just keep your ears perked, right? Just not to trust blindly and to think for yourself and to notice.
The point I was making, there's no way we're going to be able to do this unless we go back to sort of a village mentality.
Mm-hmm. And even when we go into the store, we have this illusion of choice of all these hundreds of brands, but there are so few companies that purchase them. So yeah, it really does have to be a grassroots effort. That's why we go to the farmer's market every week. Yeah. It's like the best day.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. And we just support the people around us. We get to know them. The food is fresher. It tastes dramatically different. Even our son just couldn't believe the flavor of the apple cider that we get versus like an apple juice that you get from the grocery store. Yes. But yeah, we really have to take our power back because that's how we evolved. That's how we began. And
it's a great time for anybody that feels inspired to, get into farming. There's plenty of organizations. You got Weston A. Price, you've got Acres USA, the British Soil Association. Like there's a lot of sources for really good information. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great documentaries. Forgot what's that famous movie about the people that started the farm?
Oh, Big Little Farm.
Big Little Farm.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
One Man, One World, One Cow was very powerful. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I haven't seen that.
It was a good one.
I need to see that.
Yeah, One Man, One World, One Cow.
And then Kiss the Ground.
Or One Man, One Cow, One World. Those are the three things.
Okay.
Kiss the Ground, yeah.
Awesome.
But it's a great time for people to kind of, if you realize being in the city is not the best place to be, but you want to get close to the earth. And the permaculture movement's coming on really strong. My friend Jim Gale is a big permaculture guy, and you can hire a permaculture company to come in and they'll make you what's called a food forest. And they take your grass out and put in the plants and the trees that work together, like nut trees and things that are actually very symbiotic together. And you don't have to touch it. You don't have to weed it. You don't have to do anything. You just water it.
Whoa.
And it'll grow tons of food for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that might be what you'll see if you come back one day.
Yeah.
I can connect you
to Jim Gale. You'd love Jim Gale. I've had him on my podcast.
Okay. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah. And so the point I'm making is Jim Gale's actually shown like people with just a patch of grass in their front yard can actually, get a significant amount of food from it if you do it right. And so I think it's great that the permaculture movement's having a strong revival right now.
Me too. And there's just mental health benefits. And just even like when what you see in the photo you see in a hospital room, if you see nature, you recover faster than if you see a cityscape.
And getting your feet on the earth.
Exactly.
And realizing your participation in not only your own food, but in, I don't know what word to use, but like, we can't separate ourselves from the environment. Like what our soul is relationships top to bottom, like there's no question I could take you, drop you in another house and you'll feel completely out of place. Your insides will feel like, okay, where's, this closet's too small. I mean, I can't breathe in this house. There's not enough light in this house, so we actually, our psyche is actually shaped by our environment. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you're investing some heart, soul, and money into your yard so that it's producing food and it's nourishing you, and you realize, wow, this is a beautiful relationship. I take care of them, take care of me. They take care of me. Mm-hmm. The birds come around, the squirrels, you get to see life interacting with itself, and it brings us life.
It does. It brings me so much joy just to be in my yard. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we used to have garden beds and with business, we got busy, but I will definitely be bringing it back. And we have little rabbits running around. Colorado's just been so good for my soul.
Yes.
We came from Los Angeles and it was just a very different experience. But yeah, gardening is my next venture.
There's one other thing I want to hit on before we get into some of your research. One of the big problems we have is the university nutrition agricultural programs. They're totally taken over by chemical companies and pharma. And basically, the whole thing's based on shortcutting and tricking nature. It's just like biohacking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really a biohacking approach to animal feeding. It's a biohacking approach to farming. They've convinced people coming out of university with agricultural degrees that you cannot farm without pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. They basically say you can't do it, which is just, for lack of a better term, it's just bullshit.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
We have to do it because
It's like, okay, I got a question for you. How do we evolve for at least 2 million years with none of this? And we were, if you watch, there's a series called Wild Frontier, and it is all the mountain men and women that made their way west from the east of this country. And let me tell you, if you want to see a series about some tough people and the shit they had to do to migrate with wagons and horses, you will realize that we have turned into pale shadows of the human beings that immigrated into this country.
Oh, I have no doubt.
It's
I
just
have no
crazy.
doubt. I will watch that.
And so I tell people all the time, if you want to see what a man is or a woman is, watch Wild Frontier.
Okay.
It's a series on Amazon. It's badass. I was really excited because the kids loved it. They're like, Daddy, like, is this real? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how we made it across the United States. Yeah. That's exactly how it happened. Like, fighting off mountain lions and bears, and it's a really well done series. But my only point is, you look at who human beings are. I mean, that environment made sure only the toughest of our gene pool survived. And so that's what made us. But now, with all the medical intervention and all the trickery, I hate to say it, but we're actually keeping the very people and organisms alive that Mother Nature would have put back into the earth, because she just has one rule. You have to be able to support and improve upon, or you don't get to live. And I know it's harsh, but it's real. And so now we're using so-called science to support the sick and the weak. And we're then having those people have babies, which then are weaker. And so we're going in the opposite direction, which is exactly what Pottinger's cat study showed would happen.
And we're also creating the sick and the weak because we're killing off the soil biology and the nutrient bridges that we all need in order to become those resilient humans that would survive. So,
well, that's that brings up. I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you can handle it. If you looked into your metaphorical crystal ball, if things don't change, how long do you think we have?
Oh, it's a sad, sad vision, unfortunately.
It's a hard one to face.
It's a really hard one to face because we already have, 2/3 of our soil broken, and the soil is where 95% of our food comes from. Yeah. It's already at the lowest point of nutrient density in history. And they say, and I don't know how accurate this isn't like valid research necessarily, 60 to 80 harvests, essentially like 60 to 80 years until we would run out of topsoil. Yeah. If we continue along the path that we have. Yeah. That would mean, our children's children might see a day where we can't feed ourselves anymore.
You've seen the posts and videos of Paul in his rock stacking garden, standing beside a rock stack that is easily 3 times as tall as he is. Maybe you've wondered how on earth he gets those rocks to balance in seemingly impossible angles and configurations, or how he stacks the top rocks over 10 feet above his head. Well, now you can get the answers to all those questions and experience the wisdom of the stone Buddhas, as Paul calls the rocks, for yourself at the upcoming Zen in the Garden Rock and Soul Workshop. It all happens on September 27th at Paul's home in the north of San Diego County, California. Paul will show you techniques to access and gain soul guidance and ways to calm and center yourself to let your soul guide you when working with the stones. You'll also learn the essentials of effective and safe stone lifting for some good old primal conditioning with stones. And Paul will show you how he uses stones to get an incredible workout that goes far beyond anything in a gym. We invite you to join us for a fun, sweaty day filled with stillness, movement, good food, great water from Paul's stone water charger, amazing people, and a whole bunch of rocks. Go to paulchek.com/events for full details and to register. That's paulchek.com/events.
The other terrifying aspect of it is, from my perspective, is that our children are getting sicker and sicker and dumber and dumber. And so we, I've got a 9-year-old. You have a 10-year-old?
Yep.
And
Just
I've got a
turned 10.
6-year-old, right? Now, it's easy to forget that those are the kids that will be the people that we're going to be voting for. And they're going to be the ones running the country. They're going to be ones running factories and building equipment. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've noticed that almost everything we buy breaks constantly because people just aren't present on the job. We've had to have our well pump replaced 3 times because of manufacturing problems. We bought a $14,000 refrigerator because we need a big refrigerator because we had a lot of events at our house.
Yeah.
The thing was constantly broken. It took us about a year to get them to replace it on the warranty. We bought a brand new stove. We've only had it for several months. It's broken down about 8 times. We spent tons of time and energy and money getting the repair guys out. Now they finally agreed to replace it. We've gone through hassle. One of my point is, we now have a conundrum where the people are not healthy enough to actually participate in the workforce. And what once made America great is our ingenuity, our ability to come up with new ideas and build, cars that lasted a long time and tractors and, things that really worked. And now it's all falling apart. But it's because the people are falling apart.
Absolutely. We've lost that connection to one of the most important things we can do, which is just nourishing ourselves, also nourishing our mind, right?
Yeah.
So many of us are spending time on screens, overstimulated. And so, we're dead in here, but also our biology isn't working like it should.
Vitamins haven't been known about that long.
No, beginning of the 1900s.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the original studies were done in the military because they were having a lot of problems with vitamin C deficiency. I think there was some B problems in there. But the Mayo Clinic did some of the original research for the United States government, and they went into the military factories where they had civilians and military people doing things like building army tanks and weaponry. But that's when the Mayo Clinic isolated the first 3 B vitamins. That was the first time, and that's when they realized that there was a deficiency in processed foods. And bread was one of the ones they found out. Bread and milk. They said, okay, something's happening here because whatever you're doing, you're losing these key vitamins, which they only knew of these 3. But when they isolated them and added them back into the diets of the soldiers and the factory workers that are making army tanks and everything, they noticed their productivity went up significantly just with these 3 little vitamins.
Isn't that crazy?
Right? And there's all this research is there. I can't wait to show you my library.
Oh, I'm so excited to see
it's loaded.
And that's just something that we totally overlook. We require these nutrients.
Yes.
And our brains and bodies don't work without them. And 90% of us don't have them.
And what's so upsetting to me is that the government knows all this. Yeah. They did this research. The government paid for it. The government had the problems. The research on how many in England and the United States, the research on how many soldiers failed their medical entrance exam and could not get into the military during wartime it reached 51% in World War II.
Like 70%?
It's like 70%
today.
now.
Terrifying.
Pretty soon you're going to have nobody to be in the military. It's like, it's crazy.
We're also unfit and unwell.
The point is we really have to help people become more aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you said it.
We don't have a lot of time.
We 80 years, I think, if you look at the psychological effect of malnutrition, one of the things that happens is inability to control your anger and an inability to control your emotions.
And to focus.
And so, look at what's going on right now with Israel and Iran and Russia and Ukraine. I mean, this is just kind of classic, psychological inability to solve problems effectively. Let's just kill them.
Which is so sad. But that Dr. Bruce Ames research is about this very thing. It's called the triage theory.
Yeah.
And it's like when we are low, we send the nutrients, the limited resources to things like blood clotting, the things that are important right now.
Yes.
But those other things, focus, mood, DNA repair, all of the other things that we need to age well, they go by the wayside. We don't do them and we become kind of shells of ourselves. I think that's what we're dealing with.
Here's another thing that blows my mind. Like, during it seems to have backed down now a bit now that Trump's became president. But, it was all about carbon taxing, and we're going to tax you for everything. And that you're polluting the environment and all this, everything, bags on cows' asses so to catch the farts. It's the typical Bill Gates horseshit, right? But I'm like, okay, has anybody actually ever looked into what the toxicity levels and destructive levels and cost of wars are?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about full on poisoning the shit out of the environment. And many of the soldiers that are in these wars are poisoned to death by munitions and gases. And I'm like, okay, you're going to spend all this money to fund all these wars. Meanwhile, we're starving to death.
Yeah, exactly. The priorities.
What's my point? My point is, when generals and political people don't eat right, they don't think right, and they lead us into destruction in the name of national security, which is just another big scam. But I was sharing with you, I am really sensitive to any meat that's been fed grains. So we were talking about, and it was a slow process for me to figure out what the hell was going on. I'm like, why am I? And it was hard because sometimes I would eat a certain piece of meat, like some chicken, and I wouldn't have any problems. I might be at a friend's house, and then another time I would eat chicken and have all sorts of weird reactions. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, there's something going on. I'm checking, do I have a fungal infection, a parasite infection? I'm looking like for the bacterial dysbiosis, but I knew it had to be something in the food because it would only happen when I ate certain foods. There was periods in my life where I could eat eggs and I didn't have problems, but all of a sudden eggs started giving me problems. And so one of the first indications I had is that the gluten in gluten-containing grains, which are then fed to animals, is making it into my body through eggs, was our own eggs. Mm-hmm. And so I've been sensitive to eggs for quite a while, and I went off them for a few months. And Angie said, well, try our eggs because they're really, really good, our own eggs. And so I tried one, and within about 10 to 15 minutes, welts started to come up all over my body, literally like blisters. Like a histamine reaction. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking, looked like I was like poisoned by mustard gas or something. And it happened fast and strong. And I said, I cannot eat these eggs. It's the grains. And as I've looked into it more, because this has been going on for me now for about a year, where I became more sensitive, I noticed, I was telling you, after I got COVID, which really shocked me, because up till COVID, which was, I think Penny said January, I had not missed a day of work in 40 years due to illness. 40 years. I've never missed a day of work. I've gotten stuff, runny nose, fight it off. I could take some garlic and, just turmeric and, natural approaches. And it would just be kind of like, a little dull, but I can fight anything off. I never had a problem, but I think I just pushed myself too hard building Spirit Gym and got ran down. And I asked myself, how in the hell did we get this? And my soul said, you got it from vaccine shedding. Mm. My point is, though, it was intense, as we talked about. It took me about 15 days to get to where I could feel myself again. But I noticed that my body has been more fragile since then. Mm. Something got weakened in me. And now I find that I'm extremely sensitive to foods. And so I had to start shopping all around looking for anybody that raises meat without grains. And it's very hard to find. And thanks to our friend Fred Provenza, he helped me find a place that raised pork. I hadn't been eating pork in a long, long time because my body used to give me very bad reactions. Pork's the first meat I usually have to take people off of because of health challenges.
I can see that. And the ratio even of omega-6 to 3 is very high, 30 to 1, 35 to 1.
Right.
In conventional pork.
I'd like to share something that we have recently been introduced to and are enjoying here at Paul's Rainbow House and that's Peak's Pu'er tea. This isn't your average health tea. Pu'er is a sacred fermented tea, traditionally revered in Chinese medicine for its ability to cleanse the body, nurture the digestive fire, and build life force. And it works on multiple planes. Try a cup of black pu'er to start your day and tune into a deeper frequency and a grounded clarity. And after meals, a warm cup of green pu'er can help you feel light, balanced, and in harmony with your food, not weighed down by it. Here's what makes this tea unique. Because it's fermented, it contains living probiotics and prebiotics, living intelligence, designed to rebuild the health of your gut microbiome, which, as Paul has said countless times, is the foundation of your immunity, mood, and even your spiritual clarity. It's also loaded with polyphenols and antioxidants that support metabolic function, cellular regeneration, and longevity. In other words, this is a daily tea for anyone who wants to age consciously and with grace. And let's face it, none of us are getting any younger. The sourcing of this tea is impeccable. It is wild harvested from 250-year-old tea trees that have deep roots and deep plant wisdom. And thanks to Peak's unique formulation, it dissolves instantly, hot or cold, making it super simple to integrate into your day. So if you're working on gut healing, seeking more presence in your body, or just looking to feel lighter and clearer in your daily life, this is a ritual I highly recommend. Peak also has an amazing offer for Paul's podcast listeners. 20% off for life, plus a free rechargeable frother and glass beaker when you try their Pu'er bundle. They also have a 90-day guarantee because real healing should be built on trust and not pressure. So try Peak's black or green Pu'er teas. Go to peaklife.com/Paul Chek. That's PIQUE life.com/Paul Chek.
For those of you listening, the number one most common symptom that would make me start looking into pork consumption was anal itching.
Really?
Very, very common with pork reactions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is that to do with some sort of like pathogen or?
Well, it could be a couple of things. If you look into the Jewish cultural literature, one of the things that comes up is that pork flesh is actually the closest there is of all the animals to human flesh. So if our immune system can get a bit reactive because it doesn't want us eating humans.
Right. Makes sense.
This is just kind of what the Jewish literature says. And one of the things that's been known actually for a long time is that the metabolism of pork in a human body produces what's called detritus, which is like a toxin in the body. And, it's hard because when you're looking at what I would call folk literature, like old stuff before we had real good science for this. Today, a lot of people say, it's just a bunch of wives' tales, but I remember, I think it was at a conference. It's been a long time now. It was probably about 15 years ago when dark field microscopy started becoming real popular. And I saw a naturopathic physician take blood, and he did it to countless people. I mean, hundreds of people. To show this was undeniable. So you sit down, he would take your blood. He would look at the white blood cell count, how well the cells were separating, if there's too much clumping, like an immune reaction, et cetera. Is the blood healthy?
Yeah.
And then he would give people a piece of bacon or a piece of pork, and within 1 hour, you could not distinguish their blood from a cancer patient's blood.
Whoa.
It looked exactly like they had cancer, and it only took 1 hour. And you see massive increase in white blood cell counts and things like that. And a lot of clumping, like the red blood cells getting aggregated together, pulled together, like they're reacting to something quite strongly. And so I remember seeing this and go, okay, wow, the Jewish people knew something, which, because then they have kosher pork, which is raised in a way that's supposed to be healthier and less threatening to the body. But so the production of what's called detritus is a toxin that's known to be unhealthy for the body. And I think, of course, there's all the farming factors, but I think when you put these things together, it just turns out that whether anyone believes it or not, as a guy who's been seeing patients for a very long time, I can tell you pork's one of the first things I got to get people off when I test them to see what's bothering their body. I would say 7 out of 10 people ended up having to come off of it.
Wow.
And the most common symptom that I got was anal itching.
That's insane that you've been able to identify that with your huge body of work. That's
well, when you start seeing things in patterns,
of course, with that amount of people.
Yeah. For years, I was seeing, 20, 25 people a day when I owned a physical therapy clinic and working in chiropractic offices, physical therapy clinics, and, where I had a fairly high volume of patients before I started the Institute. I spent 11 years in clinical practice. And so I started paying attention with people I'm working with to help them with health problems. And lo and behold, without much effort, I found anytime anyone's eating meat that's been fed any grains that have gluten in them, they're having the same reaction as if they would eat, bread made of wheat or any gluten-containing grain. And I started finding that people are actually really, really sensitive to the gluten fraction. So somehow the gluten fraction of the protein in the grain is making it not only through the digestive system and the metabolic system and the assimilation process, but it's somehow managing to maintain that amino acid sequence and end up in the flesh of the animal.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest molecules to break down. Right?
It is very
Gluten
hard.
is very hard. Very long string of pearls, so to speak.
Well, that's why they use it in baking, because it gives structure to, when you have a croissant, it's because of the gluten, it's got that crispiness in it. Otherwise, it just falls apart.
That elasticity. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. And there is research, like you said, Fred Provenza taught me about that trial where they took feedlot fed meat and then the participants had that for a period of time and then they crossed over to grass fed. Right. It was actually kangaroo, so it wasn't beef to beef, but that people did have more inflammation in their bodies when they ate the meat from the feedlot. And to your point, could have something to do with the grains, or if they're feeding grain, it could have something to do with other things. Yeah. But the point is, we don't really know. There's so many nuances and so many things that we have yet to be discovered. We're just really, like you said, even just finding vitamins, we're just at the very beginning of that journey. Yeah. And then when it comes to kind of categorizing, differentiating animal products, it's something we have grossly undervalued, but that is a little gaining momentum now.
Well, part of the problem in that regard, there's 2 things I want to touch on, so help me remember.
Yeah.
One is like the issue of how the gluten fraction of a plant food's ending up in the muscle, because that's an interesting point of investigation that could be looked at.
Yeah.
And then this whole low-fat craze has put a huge amount, and all the oils, put a lot of these university systems into looking for the magic cure for heart disease and all the kind of chronic killers, but it ended up producing a lot of, bullshit science with seed oils and all the stuff you and I know about and talk about. But what I'm pointing out is that a lot of the research intention went away from really studying animals and animal-based nutrition into seeds, nuts, plants, and so it was very kind of like almost vegetarian in intention.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting when we have like surveys about what people eat, no one's looking at, are you eating grass-fed meat or are you eating feedlot raised meat? Right. There's never been that differentiation.
Yes.
So we don't know much. And we've just really begun that categorization process. Like, how does the nutrient profile change?
Yeah.
We are just now beginning to look at clinical trials about what happens when we put that into the human body and what are those differences.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of the most emerging and exciting research.
And some of this research has actually been around for a while. When you come visit me and I show you my library, I've got books I can't remember exactly which ones, but I think the living soil and the Holly experiment with Lady Eve Balfour would be one of my first places to go look for this research. But in some of the older books, they actually looked at the ratio of fats in meat, and they looked at the percentage of protein relative to fat. There was a few factors that they could identify back in the 50s and 60s. And what they found is that every time they analyzed the meat on, say, a given farm, call it lamb, and then they went even 10 miles down the road and analyzed the profile of the meat from the sheep 10 miles down the road, it was different. And when they went 10 miles down the road, it was different. And they found that it actually boiled down to the health of the soil and the changes in the soil, microorganisms and the nutrients that the animal was getting. But ultimately what they showed was that if you change the soil, and the other thing they noticed is that if you had poop coming from, say, more than one animal source, like if you had cow poop and sheep poop and goat poop, then the nutrition feeding the microorganisms was better, and then it affected the ratios in the meat.
Isn't that fascinating?
Of amino acids, how much protein, how much fat, water content, things like that. So they've known about a lot of this stuff, but it's like nobody took the ball and ran further with it, maybe because of the kind of political and big money influences.
Well, we've all been fearful of not having enough, right? We just prioritize efficiency over that ecology, and we divorce. That's one of the major changes that's happened. We don't raise animals and crops and together anymore.
Right.
We've kind of divorced those two systems. Like you said, that's part of the reason, in addition to other factors, that we don't have the levels of nutrients that we did before.
That's a big mistake.
It's a big mistake.
That's completely against the principles of nature.
Yeah. And that's one of the ways that farmers can actually make a good go at this and make a living with regenerative agriculture is by increasing the carrying capacity and having multiple streams of income. Not only is it great for the land, but it's just great for our farmers too, to have hogs, and like you guys do, and cows and bees, and just to bring that biodiversity, because that's one of the staples of a resilient ecosystem. And again, it builds that resilient human body as well.
It's the same with us.
And you can't separate them. When you're doing one, you're doing the other ultimately.
Years ago, when I was doing research to write How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I found two studies, completely different sources, that shocked me. One showed, and I can't remember the sample size of the study, was 200 and something or more. This is like, let's see, I published How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy in 2004. I started researching and writing it. Well, I've been researching my whole career, but I started writing it in 2000. So around that time, I came across a study that showed the average, I believe it was American, only eats 10 to 12 foods their entire lifetime.
Crazy.
That's it.
Yeah.
But then I found another study that showed that when they surveyed large numbers of people and asked them to tell them or demonstrate all the exercises they know, the average person only knew 10 to 12 different exercises.
Wow.
Which I thought, that is a strange correlation.
Yeah. Such a limited repertoire.
That's a very limited amount of diversity, both in what I call movement nutrition and in nutrition.
Yeah.
Like a dangerously low amount.
And making us all very vulnerable
to structural problems, health problems.
Oh, yeah. Soy, corn, and wheat. I mean, that's what most Americans are consuming.
Yes.
In those ultra processed foods, and of course, seed oils.
Yes.
So that's what we're being built out of.
Yeah. I tell people, look, if you want to make a simple approach to getting yourself healthy and seeing if you can alleviate a lot of your problems, start by just asking yourself this question. What are the 3 foods I eat the most? And then get rid of them. Put something else in there that's of a different genus. So if you eat a lot of beef, switch it out with something else. Put turkey in there. Go put goose in there. Put something else that's definitely not that. If you eat a lot of nuts, quit eating a lot of nuts.
Mm-hmm. I've had to do that just very recently because my body was reacting and I didn't realize what it was, but it was coffee.
Oh,
It was making my skin break out. And like you
Oh.
say, you just get in these habits.
yeah.
And that's why I try to do like 30 different fruits and vegetables every week,
Yeah.
just constantly rotating, not eating the same thing every day. It's so easy to get into that routine,
Yeah.
but ultimately your body doesn't respond well. And you have to every 3 days at least.
When I look at someone's diet log, I'm like, okay, the more dairy, nuts,
Mhm.
beef,
Grain.
or grains.
Yeah.
It's like, that's where I start. And I usually don't have to go any further than that to make significant improvements in a person's overall health and decrease inflammation in their body to the point where they come back and go, oh my God, like my whole life has changed.
Oh, and I'll tell you, for me, it's even simpler. It's just the grains and the dairy.
Yeah.
And not that the other two aren't very important too.
Yeah.
But I recently had a client who had been in and out of the hospital, had cancer, colon issues, going back, they thought he was developing colon cancer again. And no one had ever asked him to eliminate grains and dairy
yeah.
in 20 years. And he did it overnight. His life changed. He didn't have to go back to it's crazy that so few people understand.
Hi, everybody. My family and I love Organifi's green juices. You can get your green juice in 2 excellent flavors, crisp apple and original mint. Not only are these products made with certified organic ingredients to support your family's nutritional needs, they each have some unique benefits. Your green juice crisp apple eases stress with an effective dose of 600 milligrams of ashwagandha per serving. Helps reduce cortisol spikes that increase snacking urges and aids keeping your blood sugar balanced. Why snack on inferior foods that lack nutrition and often lead to blood sugar spikes followed by blood sugar crashes when Organifi's green juices are super healthy, taste great, and are as quick to make as opening the package and adding water. Your green juice crisp apple is made from fresh apples picked right off the branch and are packed with micronutrients to support your body's needs. Green Juice Original Mint contains ashwagandha, chlorella, and spirulina. Reset your body every morning with 11 detoxifying superfoods. You'll love the delicious taste and your body will feel strong and stable with all the micronutrients in each serving. Green Juice Original Mint promotes balanced cortisol and stress levels, perfect for weight management, and helps rid the body of harmful toxins. Personally, I'm super grateful that Organifi makes such excellent, easy-to-use drinks and foods that keep us energized, healthy, and clean inside while decreasing the urge to crave on inferior snack foods. My kids love both flavors, and I love knowing that we can all be healthy together with Organifi's excellent crisp apple and original mint green juices. These products are excellent for work, on the road, sharing with friends, and anytime you need a nutritious boost that tastes good. To get your crisp apple and original mint green juices, go to organifi.com/Chek20. That's Organifi.com/Chek20. Save 20% on your purchase using the code Chek20, all caps, on checkout. Enjoy Organifi's excellent green juices. Here's a statistic that you probably know, but most people don't know. I did a lot of research into pesticides and how much they're being used and what crops they're being used on. Did you know that on average, grains are sprayed 10 to 12 times in the warehouses before they sit in warehouses sometimes for 2 or 3 years before they actually even make it into your breakfast cereals and breads because we have a grain surplus like crazy.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they actually go through and spray pesticides all through the warehouses. So it turns out that coffee and grains are some of the most highly pesticide-laden crops in the world.
And that would make so much sense because I cannot do grains. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And coffee more recently.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I had a friend again yesterday who was just taking a synthetic B vitamin that she had heart palpitations. She had to go to the hospital. They thought she had AFib. And again, we just put her on some liver instead of these. And again, just something that could have really escalated.
Yeah.
And you bring it back to just natural food.
That's I wasn't planning on going there in this conversation, but we might as well. I've looked at a lot of research on synthetic vitamins and what they do to the body. And boy, they've done a great job of keeping that out of the public's arena.
It's interesting.
It's crazy.
Well, do you know Dr. Kara Fitzgerald's research?
No.
Okay, she's this cancer doc. Recently, she did a trial where she actually reversed biological aging in men first by 3 years on average, and later in women, I think a small pilot trial. Anyway, what she has noticed in her book was that levels of folic acid in the bloodstream, they can hypermethylate your genes and maybe increase the risk for colorectal cancer.
Well,
there have been multiple trials where they've used synthetic B vitamins, hoping to get a benefit and seeing an increased risk of cancer.
Yeah.
More than one. So
I've got a number of books looking into that. Royal Lee from Standard Process Labs spoke about that. He's got some pretty strong commentary, but a number of my books. And these studies have been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, synthetic vitamins have been being used for a long time, like since the Second World War.
Yeah.
And the results have never been good.
Yeah, multivitamins in a lot of trials don't do anything. And then we have beta carotene, vitamin E, sometimes increase the risk in certain populations.
Yeah.
B vitamins, calcium in isolation, we have to worry about with heart issues.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand. And I've even had people attack me on our ads because I will bring attention to the fact that synthetic nutrients are not the same as those from food. And they're like, oh, do you really think this is a hill to die on? I'm like, well, maybe. If people don't understand it,
it's not
we're
increasing
the risk of disease. Yeah, it's like, I think it's important. Even if
it's not going to be Autumn Smith dying. That's maybe they should get that straight. All you got to do is look at the friggin' research. The science is there, and this is one of the things I like about older science.
Yeah,
it was real science.
Right.
People were genuinely in pursuit of the truth. They weren't bought and paid for. Like right now, we don't have scientists. We got a lot of technicians working for corporations pawning this shit off as science, but it's really propaganda.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Masked as science. Like COVID was a perfect example of how far that can be stretched.
Well, yeah, and even the dietitians who were telling you to have a Coke, it's a good part of a daily meal, but then we're sponsored by the beverage industry.
Yeah.
You kind of can see it.
That's kind of like telling your kid a little cocaine's okay. It speeds your brain up, help you pass,
Lots of focus, right?
It's biohacking.
In moderation, cocaine's fine.
Yeah.
No, I just think that we have to wake up to the fact that, food is different than synthetic nutrients.
And I'll tell you another way I saw this clinically. I saw lots of problems with women who are on synthetic hormone replacement. And we had a brief chat earlier about testosterone. The number of men now, young men, using synthetic testosterone replacement is crazy. And the long-term effects. And one of the most common thing that pops up with all these synthetics is cancer. And look at the cancer freaking fiasco we're going through right now. And all the synthetics in foods. And all the chemicals in the environment.
Clothes. You know what I mean?
Just everything. It's like a full-on assault against life.
I know. I'm worried about our children.
Where we live, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I have to work fucking hard. I won't even pull the punches. I got to work hard. To pay for a 14-acre property, a farm, and the systems we have in place to run our workshops, the buildings we have to have. It's hard work for all of us. And we could not be there if it wasn't for the three of us working like a Navy SEAL team to make it happen. But I tell you, I would rather die than not do that sacrifice so my children can be raised in a real natural environment and learn what life really is about and participate. And if you look at I've studied, the immune system and allergies, because it's such a common thing you see clinically, and allergies create huge musculoskeletal problems, chronic neck aches, back aches, hip problems. A lot of our was considered rheumatic and osteoarthritis is actually food allergies, especially gluten. I've worked with piles of people that were told by doctors, you needed a hip replacement, a shoulder replacement, whatever, your L5S1 needs to be fused, clean their diet up, pain goes away, inflammation's gone, and they're like back to running and jumping and playing again, and they were about ready to get a $60,000 operation that could have changed their life forever.
There's case studies too with gluten. And I think like most of the symptoms are actually of neurological nature rather than digestive. And people going into psychosis and just not even realizing that gluten, it's just that powerful.
I've seen a huge increase in things like Parkinson's disease and Guillain-Barré syndrome, all these neurodegenerative diseases. I've just watched them increase. And I've been doing this for 41 years. That's 4 decades. That's 2 generations of humans being born and reaching the age where they can, become parents. And so I've watched this, what's getting worse and worse and what's getting better. What's getting better is iPhones. What's not getting better is people.
I know. We know more about our iPhones too than we do about our bodies.
But what I'm saying is, like, I will die on the hill that I pay for, if that's what I have to do to give my kids the best thing my parents did for my brothers and sisters. My father worked in the special effects department at Universal Studios. My mother, when he met, was just a waitress. But they both decided they didn't want to raise us kids in Los Angeles because the pollution was really high and it was just a buzz box, and my dad, this is my stepfather. My stepfather had a degree in agriculture, and my mother had a real interest in farming and holistic health. And so they decided to move us out of LA onto a farm. So our first farm was in Idaho. We had a pig farm for 3 years. Then we moved to Cottage Grove, Oregon, where they were looking to buy select sheep with key genetics that would produce black wool. So they went there, and we lived there for 6 months just while they were doing the application to immigrate to Canada. But then we moved to Vancouver Island in 1972 and my parents had a 142-acre sheep farm. And I think my dad just recently, maybe in the last few years, because my mom and dad got divorced many years ago now, but they were together for 24 years. But so the farm was still going for quite some time, even after my mom and dad were divorced, because my stepfather still lived there and farmed it. But the point I'm making is that I look back at how many times as an athlete I was trying different diets and what was current to try to get an edge on other athletes. And I was studying everything I could find, every book, every science paper. I'm like, I don't like losing. So I'm like fucking hot on this shit, and I'm talking to all the best athletes. I've been doing it long enough that I can see all these trends. But the point is like, I have thought, my God, I remember all the times I've tried all these diets, and then I would like, this shit doesn't fucking work. I feel like crap. I remember I would be just farting constantly. My guts were all bloated. I'm like running. I'm like, I don't need to pedal my bike. I got a jet engine, and I couldn't sleep very well. I would ache at night. And I realized, like, it was funny. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure is not alive anymore, but he was a guy that did a lot of research. He was a good friend of mine named Jerry Telle. I'm like, I'm so stupid. Like, this is like 97 maybe. And I'm like talking to him about all these diets I've tried. And he was really into nutrition too. And he was a research scientist, an exercise physiologist and research. He was a very smart guy. And I'm talking, I did this diet and this is what happened to me. I did that diet. This is what happened to me. And he looked at me and he goes, Paul, why don't you just eat like you did on the farm? I said, that's a good idea. So I started doing that. And I'm like 35 years old at the time. So I was like, I'm just going to eat, meat and vegetables. And every freaking problem I had cleared up. I freaking slept better. I trained better. I responded. I recovered faster. And so, but the point is, if I hadn't been raised on a farm, I would not have had even the concept of what that means. If someone would have said to me, eat like you're on a farm, what that wouldn't mean anything to a city kid. Like, what the hell does that mean?
No reference point.
Yeah.
For most people.
So I think, and I've encouraged countless of my students to go work on a farm. you want to get in touch with nature, because like a lot of them are in jobs where they're in cities and they're working in tech companies, and they're like, how do I do it? I can't get out into nature and make a living. I said, well, why don't you just go work on a farm, cut your expenses back, and learn about farming and learn about the earth. And I've had many of them come back to me and say, Paul, it was the best advice anyone ever gave me in my life.
Yeah.
Because I learned how to live working on a farm. And now I own a farm. And now my kids will get to learn about what life is on a farm. And I think now is a damn good time to get the hell out of a city.
Yeah.
And put your feet on the ground that's not poisoned by glyphosate and have like a real life.
Yeah. And I think that this generation is getting more excited about it. And I think the idea of regenerative agriculture is that pull.
It is.
It's so meaningful, such a big idea, and something we need so badly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the young people are, again, infiltrating agriculture.
And I think it's children like mine and yours.
Yeah.
And those like it, they're going to be the leaders of that movement.
Yes.
And if they don't lead the movement, there won't be a movement.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It would be the end of movement itself.
We'll be in big trouble.
You know?
Yeah. It's up to us and them.
Things will come to a halt.
Yes. Screeching.
And it'll be backed by science.
If you have listened to even one episode of Paul's podcast before, then you will know that he is passionate, and some would say even fanatical, about the quality of the food he eats and where it is sourced from. That is why the Chek household only eats pasture-raised meat, wild-caught fish, and organic produce. And that is why we subscribe to Wild Pastures meat delivery service. Each month, Wild Pastures delivers a box of meat that has been raised by family farmers in the USA using regenerative farming practices. 100% grass-fed and finished beef, pasture-raised chicken, and pasture-raised pork, as well as wild-caught seafood. You can customize the selection in your box, add on extra when you know you will be feeding more people, or change your options each and every month. You might be thinking that this will be too expensive for you, but Wild Pastures' mission is to offer the highest quality meat at the lowest prices because they want to transform the meat industry. And that means that more people need to be able to choose meat that is raised right. Their pasture-raised animals are part of a natural ecosystem. Their farmers use rotational grazing, practices that mimic nature, and so do not need to use synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, hormones, or antibiotics. This beautiful process doesn't require the external resources, such as massive amounts of GMO grain, required with environmentally depleting conventional methods. And best of all, the meat and fish taste amazing. And for Paul's listeners, Wild Pastures are offering you 20% off your subscription for life, $15 off your first order, and free shipping. Seriously, you can't find a better deal for top quality pasture-raised meat. Go to wildpastures.com/Paul Chek. You don't need a promo code. Just visit wildpastures.com/Paul Chek and start choosing the goodies you will have delivered to you in your first box.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because when you brought up the pesticide companies and our education, we have our regenerative burger restaurant, and we hire college kids in the agriculture programs.
Right.
And they tell us that they don't learn anything about regenerative ag.
They don't.
It's not even on their radar. It's not in their curriculum.
No.
It's just not something that's coming out of our schools
Yeah.
in most circumstances. We're in Boulder where you'd think that might be different, but I don't think it is.
I've met many of them that have said, if you bring that up in class, our professors will tell you that that's folk medicine and that you can't make a living farming that way. I'm like, oh, yeah, ask them how much it costs for all these chemicals, how much it costs for all this, bioengineered seeds. Ask what happens when these crops fail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The number one cause of suicide in India was farmers committing suicide because Monsanto seed crops failed and they couldn't pay the loans back and they couldn't feed their families.
Yeah, and I think farmers have a rate of suicide 5 times higher than the
It's
general
crazy.
population. I have lost 2 farmers that I know personally.
Not people farming like you and I would farm.
No.
Or do farm.
They were in Montana and they were farming traditionally and they were having a really hard time. And
all you got to do is look at their bodies. They're very unhealthy people.
But I think
I've actually said to them, I said, look, hasn't it? And I have to be honest with them because a lot of them are my patients. I say, haven't you put 2 and 2 together that you have to wear a hazmat suit to spray the food you eat and then you eat it? I mean, you're a smart guy. You know how the engine of a tractor works. You can take a transmission apart. You can fix a hay baler. You can solve problems. You work with veterinarians. You can get a driver's license. You're not stupid.
Right.
But why is that part of your brain not paying attention to what you're doing? And you're feeding that to the school, to the public. You're selling that food into the food system.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example of this and from another field. I saw a video interview, not an audio, a video interview with a doctor who works with pilots specifically who are sick, that are flying the planes that are dropping all the chemicals, the chemtrails.
Oh.
And he says, as a medical doctor, I am completely in awe that these pilots realize, and it even shows in the airplanes danger, highly hazardous toxic chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys are getting sick, but they're bombing their entire cities and states with this stuff and getting paid for it, but not even wondering what the heck is going to happen to their kids and their families right below their airplanes. And I'm like, how in the hell do you get a pilot's license and be dumb enough to poison your own family and your own water and your own trees?
Because they're just believing that safe, like Dwayne Lee Johnson. Did you know his story? He was the groundskeeper in LA who he was using glyphosate as directed in the hazmat suit, and the hose came loose and he got some of it on his skin. And then he got leukemia. He was the first one to go ahead and sue Monsanto and win. So he is the guy who opened the floodgates for the other people. But he said that they were very clear. It's safe.
Right.
It's safe when used as directed. And he believed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what happens with people.
Yeah. That's called not having the ability to think critically.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems of indoctrination through the education and the university system.
I know. The education in the universities is a big problem.
It is a big problem. It's a date with the devil. It's like 60% of a medical doctor's education is paid for by a drug company. Well, where do you think that's going to go?
Right? Yeah. They're not taught about creating wellness anymore.
You and I have talked about that kind of stuff in past podcasts. Now, Autumn, I know you've got a filming appointment coming up, so our time is limited, unfortunately, because I could talk to you for, 40 days and 40 nights and still... Problem is that the more we talk, the more great questions we come up with.
I know, but we'll be doing this,
forever, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll try. If we're not here, we'll have to do it on the other side. Autumn,
I'm open to that. Yeah.
I've been waiting for you. I've done all this research.
Penny, yeah.
You wouldn't believe the stuff they do in the astral world. But the plants are healthy. So here's a few things that I wanted to talk to you about because you've really looked into this. You've done your dissertation on some of this stuff. What do you want to share about animal feeding research? What the findings are and why they matter so much? Omega-6 versus omega-3 ratios in meat. And then glycine. You were sharing with me, there's a lot of very important information about glycine coming out. So I'm going to just let you share how and what you want on those topics. I'm sure any one of those could be a podcast all by itself, but just from what you told me.
Yeah, well, I think I did never see myself doing a dissertation on beef, but the more that I got into understanding the nuances in agriculture, the more important that I thought it was for people like you, right? When we do research on meat, for example, we're not categorizing grass-fed meat as different or pasture-raised meat as different than conventionally raised meat, treated with hormones, pesticides. That's not a differentiation being made right now. And so I got to be a participant in the Beef Nutrient Density Project with Dr. Van Vliet at Utah State and the Bionutrient Food Association. Now, what's cool about it is their ultimate goal is to incentivize agriculture, to give the power back to consumers. Like you said, They're going to have a handheld meter, and they're going to be able to scan a piece of produce or a piece of meat and see which is more nutrient dense. And in doing so,
That's a good use of technology.
Completely change the way food is being grown. Because if the consumers are buying and prioritizing nutrient density, obviously the growers
they'll know what's in it.
Exactly.
So they know what not to buy.
Exactly. And so the system will have to change. So that's a really exciting project. But in order to do that, they had to categorize what nutrient density looks like. And they started with beef. And so in this project, their goal is to do 250 different producers throughout the world. And our piece of research was about North America and was about a little over 100 producers, from feedlots to feedlot light, where they just have like shorter grazing or shorter grain feeding time periods, and then also organic, and then grass-fed, and then beyond grass-fed, more regenerative settings. And what we found was that there was just these sometimes profound differences in the meat nutritional profile. And we're able to see it differently too because of this metabolomics research, where you're looking at tens of thousands of compounds in foods. Fred Provenza, our dear friend, has been very, very heavily involved with that. But no longer are we looking at vitamin B and vitamin E levels changing. We're looking at thousands of things changing. And essentially meat is a photograph of the land.
That's a great concept. I love that.
That's exactly what it is. Why you said lamb from one farm is different than the lamb from the other. And so we're finding that when you're grass feeding, you're just getting higher levels of nutrients that so many of us are missing. For example, omega-3s, 90,000 deaths, according to Harvard research, people die every year because they're not getting enough in omega-3s. And guess what's a great source? When it's fed grass its entire life.
Yes.
Beef. So those are the kinds of things we found, that omega-3s and the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3s are very far lower. And that when you have more diverse systems, more plants, regenerative grazing, that you can further even go beyond just a grass-fed scenario, which sometimes includes just one type of grass, and continuous grazing. So there's lots of nuances that are being parsed out. You're also finding these anti-diabetic, antidepressant, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant phytonutrients in animals that receive these rich, diverse diets. And those have so many health benefits. That's why I think probably it reduces inflammation when you have, again, a piece of meat from a land like that versus a feedlot, which is fed a mixed ration, corn, soy, and a few other things. But so that research is really exciting, and they found wide variation. And you can silo them. So you can go feedlot, it's going to have one profile, feedlot light. If you can make feedlot raised meat better just by having, shorter grain feeding periods, maybe supplementing. But at the end of the day, the research was clear that the regenerative and the grass-fed and finished on botanically rich pastures did offer benefits in omega-3s, lower omega-6 to 3 profile, higher levels of saturated fats that are beneficial because some of them are the long chain and very long chain, and also these phytonutrients. So that research is exciting and emerging, but the more exciting part is that Van Vliet's also doing human trials. And what they found in the human trials is they did two things. They took people off of a standard diet and put them on a whole food diet. And then they took people on a whole food diet and then they compared them to all regenerative diet. And so they did notice differences in both, right? Lower inflammation in both scenarios, though taking people off the standard American diet was the most important and profound different, right? Then you can go a little bit higher with the regenerative, but that was the biggest and most pronounced change. And I think this is important because we need to realize, like you and I and Fred Provenza have always said, we're part of this ecosystem.
Yes.
And if we're poisoning things, if we're feeding our animals things that they're not designed to consume, we are altering our food source, our soil, and that's ultimately going to affect us deleteriously. So I think the future is seeing and figuring out which levers we need to pull in animal nutrition and what kind of pastures and how do we create the most nutrient dense meat. I think a lot of people can't have meat because of the type of meat they're eating.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that research, and that was Beef Nutrient Density Project. And the other research that I think is really fascinating is that research around glycine.
Yes.
And again, animals, we're not eating nose to tail anymore. And there's an amino acid called glycine. Now, it's conditionally essential, meaning we can make it. But out in 2009, this paper came out showing that the amount we produce is not tied to our demand, meaning that we can be up to 10 grams short a day. And that means we're not building collagen. So our joints are suffering. Our skin is aging more quickly. Our gut isn't as healthy as it could be. Our glutathione synthesis is going down. Our creatine synthesis is going down. Glycine is one of the amino acids that you need to build creatine.
Right.
And also it's fascinating. We see in longevity research where there's this methionine and glycine. People are restricting methionine. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's something that came out of cancer research, and methionine is the muscle meat amino acid, and glycine is kind of the one that comes from eating nose to tail and the skin and the bones. And what researchers have found recently is if you balance methionine with glycine, eating essentially the whole animal, then the risk goes down without restricting the methionine, which you don't want to do because, as you know, somebody who is building muscle has to stay strong as you age. You don't want to lose muscle mass and reduce protein intake.
Right.
So anyway, I think 10 grams a day is conservatively what he estimates we need. And that comes from bone broth, eating nose to tail.
I was going to say,
collagen
your bone broth
supplementation
is the best I've ever had in my life.
It's my favorite
and
too.
My kids just fight over it. They're like, give that to me. You know, they're like, literally, we brought some with us.
I know, I do too.
Yeah.
And also I think for me too, the mental health aspect, it has been in trials for depression, anxiety, even schizophrenia. And it has a calming, it's an inhibitory effect, which I think so many of us could benefit from. It also drops your body temperature so that you can sleep better. So trials have shown you sleep better. You're more cognitively alert the next day. So yeah, I just think helping people understand that glycine, like bone broth, it's not just a gut health kind of trend. It's something that can literally help you age more gracefully.
Just last night, we were sitting, the kids were doing, goofing around, doing their games on their iPads. And I was watching TV and just relaxing at the end of the day. And Penny said, what do you guys want for dinner? And Mona immediately said, do you have any more of that bone broth, which is your bone, Paleovalley bone broth? And he goes, I love that stuff. And she said, yes, we do have some more. And then Zoe said, me too. Like they know, right?
I love that.
Like he's 9 and she's almost 6, but they have a nose for what their bodies want and what makes them feel good.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. Like if we give kids the opportunity to eat well, they pretty much will do it.
Yeah.
They know.
Maverick loves it too. We put it in milk that we get from our farm. And then we also make an ice cream out of it. So you get the full fat dairy.
That's great.
It's pretty amazing. So yeah, knowing that we're operating and potentially these signs of aging are really another nutrient deficiency. I think that's the total theme of this conversation.
Yeah.
So much of what we see as symptoms or things that need to be medicated are just signs of nutrient deficiency that we've been ignoring.
Which we've all got to get involved in. Then it's not going to go away. A thought that's rung through my head a few times now while I'm listening to you talk is something I've said a billion times in my classes all over the world is keep in mind you are what you eat. And it's so damn true.
And you are what you eat eats.
You are what you eat eats, but you are also what you don't excrete.
That's true.
Right? So you are what you eat, but you got to have good detoxification abilities.
Oh, yeah.
This is why, having enough diversity in plant foods, especially so that you have things that support detoxification, whether it be artichoke or milk thistle, all the things that support the different organs. Any nutrition book of any quality has all that in there. But you realize, you say, what's good for kidney health? What's good for liver health? What's good for lung health? What's good for bladder health? You just go down the body and you'll find all the answers, but you'd end up with, 200 or 300 different nutrients and foods that provide all these things, which all the folk wisdom knew about. The ones that the university professors say were just idiots and didn't know what they were doing. And so the point I'm making is that when you actually do it that way, which I have to do as a therapist and most nutritionists have to do, right?
Yeah.
You come to the realization, hey, guess what? If you want healthy lungs, liver, kidneys, spleen, sex organs, testosterone, hormone, you got to have a wide variety of nutrition. And you got to listen to your body and it'll tell you what it needs. You'll crave it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you don't have enough nutrient variety as a child, your brain cannot interpret the cravings because you don't have a context. If you've never eaten artichoke, your body can be saying, eat artichoke, but you don't even know what it is.
Exactly. You don't even know what you're missing.
Yeah. So we've got to take care of the land. We've got to take care of our kids. And we need to remember, you are what you eat. You are what you don't excrete. And we have a very narrow window to get it right.
Mm-hmm. We do. I think it's the issue of our generation. One of the main ones.
Yeah.
Is that we just all have to come back to a awakening.
Yeah.
The fact that we are the same as the land.
And even if you live in the city, you're an accountant, a stockbroker, a lawyer, and you're like, I'm never going to freaking run a farm. It's like so far from what I do. Well, guess what? That's why you put money in the hands of companies like Paleovalley. That's what I say on my podcast all the time. If you buy from Paleovalley, they're putting money in the hands of regenerative farmers.
Yeah.
All my sponsors are putting money in the hands of biodynamic and regenerative and organic farmers, which means when you're putting money there, you're putting money into the earth to the rehabilitation of the planet. You're giving money to the people that are taking care of our environment.
Yeah.
You're getting good nutrition. It's making you more alive. And you're supporting the podcast that turned you on to these people. I mean, I can't think of a better circle
Investment.
of love, right? That's the boomerang of love coming right back. My point is, you don't have to move out of Miami or New York.
Right.
You just got to have the right stuff shipped to you. And Wild Pastures, talk about a mind-blowing opportunity. I'm like, when you guys came to me and my family tried that meat and we saw what the deal was and wild caught fish, I'm like, this is like such a good deal. Like, you're paying not much more than you would be going to the store to get the best stuff you can buy.
No, and that was the point, because our mission as a family truly is to put it in factory farming, ideally replace it eventually.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we have to compete with conventional prices.
Yeah.
And so we are so creative with the ways that we are saving money. And the last thing we'd ever do is pass a cost increase up to the customer. We really haven't raised our prices, and
It's
meat
crazy.
prices are at the highest point they
are.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And hopefully we might have to do in the future, but so far we've been able to keep it 40% less than all meat delivery services. The other good thing is it's all domestic. It's all American family farmers.
There's the community-supported agriculture.
Yep. And 75% of
With a
grass-fed
long
meat
reach.
is imported. And most people don't realize that. A lot of grass-fed beef is from another country.
Yeah, China, a lot of it.
And,
all over the place.
Argentina and Tasmania, just a lot of different places. But yeah, so supporting America's farmers in your neighborhood, in your backyard, that's what Wild Pastures is
or
about.
wherever you are, because my podcast listeners are all over the world.
Right.
But, I found amazing food in Australia, amazing food in New Zealand. But you got to go out to the farms.
Yep.
It's no different than here, but it's there.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I honestly, I have such a deep gratitude for what you and your husband have done and your family, all of you guys with your restaurants, Paleovalley, Wild Pastures. Like, this is so important. I know you and I share one thing in common amongst many things, but if there's one thing we share in common, we can leave this world knowing we did our very best for everybody.
It's very true.
I think that's all you can take with you when your body stops and our role in the grand show of life is over. Is, what did you really give the world? And I'm grateful that I can leave knowing I did my best, and I know you can and your family can too, because I know that you have touched the lives of countless thousands of my students and listeners and my family. And I just want you to know how deeply grateful I am, and how I hope you continue to do what you're doing, because your way of solving problems and making things happen is very special.
Thanks, Paul. And it was all inspired by you. Like I said, you were the first CD that I listened to. You Are What You Eat. Wasn't that your CD, your DVD's name?
Yes.
I remember vividly cruising down the road to San Diego. Chaz bought it for me when I just learned to heal my digestive issues. There was Paul Chek. And I feel so grateful because you had that holistic view that so many people get sucked into paleo, keto, carnivore, all of these isms, these movements. And you've always kept my sights on the bigger picture. And
I say, listen to your body. It'll tell you.
It'll tell you. And, in order to fix our bodies, we need to fix the system.
Yeah.
And so I'm really eternally grateful that you entered my life when you did.
Sometimes I forget that part of the story. And when you tell it to me, it's just, it actually is quite emotional because it's like, oh my God, I had something to do with Autumn creating Paleovalley and everything she's doing.
Yeah.
And, I had to work really, really fucking hard to produce all that information and travel the world and share it with so many people. I damn near killed myself,
And can I tell you, I met this guy, this dancer. I called him up to my house to teach Maverick lessons. When he saw your book in our house, Paul Chek? I was like, I know Paul Chek. He could not believe it.
Is that right?
Oh my gosh. I meet people all the time that have been so deeply impacted by your work. So I just want you to know you've done amazing work and we're just lucky to be aligned with you.
Well, thank you. And thanks to all of you guys listening. It's important. I hope you really are with us. Thank you to all my sponsors, including Autumn. So lots of love. I look forward to sharing more with you in a week. What it'll be, I have no idea because I try not to look at my schedule because
go on vacation.
The weight of it is like, oh God, I tell Penny, don't tell me about what's coming. Just tell me what I got to do today. So lots of love, all of you guys. Talk to you soon. Aho.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Gym with Paul Chek and today's guest, Autumn Smith, Ph.D. Make sure to watch the Rethink Meat documentary series on YouTube at Wild Pastures Official and then sign up for your own home meat delivery from Wild Pastures with 20% off for life and 15% off your first order and free shipping. Go to wildpastures.com/Paul Chek. You can also save 15% on your Paleovalley order at paleovalley.com/Chek15. Check out their newest products, including organic olive oil, beef tallow, organic spice blends, and organic coffee blended with 8 functional mushrooms. For more interaction with Paul and to share ideas and ask questions about topics discussed in this podcast, we invite you to join his Spirit Gym program and community. There are 3 different levels of membership to fit your budget and lifestyle. You can participate in live Q&A sessions with podcast guests, access the members forum within the Spirit Gym community where you can chat with other members, attend weekly virtual meetups with Paul, and study his comprehensive Master Key online program. Explore the options and subscribe today by going to myspiritgym.com. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and a warm review on the podcast platform of your choice. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube.